$8.4 billion. That is a staggering number, right? That's what enterprise spending on large language model APIs is projected to hit in 2025. But here's the harsh reality. A huge chunk of that cash is just vanishing into thin air. We're running headfirst into what industry insiders are calling the inference cost paradox. See, the very tools we all thought would save us a ton of time and money are quietly draining corporate budgets dry. We thought AI was going to make us infinitely more efficient, but instead we're getting hit with this massive hidden tax just to keep the lights on.
Welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into episode 6 of our Explainer series, and the topic is data sovereignty. We're unpacking exactly why relying completely on big tech cloud APIs is, well, it's a massive strategic trap. Look, every time you fire off your proprietary data to a third-party cloud, you're essentially handing over your business secrets. You're letting these massive AI companies learn exactly how you operate, giving them the power to eventually squeeze you on pricing. So we're going to explore how building a defensible moat really requires complete control over your AI. We'll draw on the philosophy of the Spectre of insight, and we'll see how taking total ownership of your local AI infrastructure, which, by the way, is exactly the kind of setup AI Gent 1.0 specializes in building, is the ultimate way to truly own your niche. Okay, let's lay out our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the inference cost paradox, then move into the privacy trap, designing market infrastructure, the ownership layer, the local AI stack, and finally wrap up with the future market architect. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the inference cost paradox.
So, cloud APIs seem completely harmless at first, right? Deceptively cheap when you're just building and testing. A few cents here, a few cents there, no big deal. But man, when you push that to production, the math completely flips on you. Modern autonomous AI agents, they don't just sit around waiting for humans to tell them what to do. They're constantly looping in the background, perceiving, reasoning, planning, acting, and reflecting. A single little prompt from a user can easily explode into hundreds of LLM calls as the agent grinds away at the problem. Because of that compounding effect, a single software engineer relying heavily on cloud-hosted proprietary endpoints can easily rack up a monthly bill of $1,000 to $3,000. That's up to $36,000 a year just for one seat. Now multiply that by your whole engineering team. You can see how this high-volume API reliance isn't just an IT expense anymore. It's a literal existential financial threat to the business.
Now let's talk about the next big hurdle, the privacy and security trap.
Get a load of this statistic. 61% of businesses reported experiencing some form of third-party data breach just in the past year alone. Really let the gravity of that sink in for a second. Shipping your internal corporate repositories, your customer data, your proprietary code bases off to external servers, that is a massive systemic risk. In boardrooms today, you just can't get away with saying, oh, we just send it all to OpenAI or whatever cloud provider. Procurement and security teams will practically run you out of the room. It's a giant red flag. Every single time you send your proprietary code or customer data to big tech, you are literally training their models on your operational secrets. You're handing them the keys to your business. If your company relies on strict compliance, you absolutely unequivocally cannot afford to let your data leave your own infrastructure. All right, moving right along to designing market infrastructure. This concept here brilliantly illustrates the Spectre of insight framework. See, markets don't just evolve because someone made a marginally better product. They evolve when the fundamental infrastructure that supports them gets completely redesigned. Moving off the cloud isn't just a basic IT upgrade. Think about the leap from the printing press to the internet and now to decentralized digital infrastructure. It's an infrastructural revolution. When the internet came around, it fundamentally changed how information was distributed. Well, local AI is doing the exact same thing for intelligence. By truly owning your infrastructure, you create the perfect conditions for a fundamental market redesign. You enable entirely new economic behaviors that your competitors simply cannot replicate.
Which brings us perfectly to the concept of the ownership layer.
Now, what's really interesting here is that ownership isn't just a simple yes or no. The ownership layer defines who actually holds the rights to an asset and ultimately who reaps the rewards of the value being created. In market architecture, redesigning this ownership is the single highest leverage move you can possibly make. Because think about it, if you don't own the intelligence layer, if you're just renting your smarts from big tech, you are incredibly vulnerable. It's like being a tenant farmer, building your entire livelihood on land you don't even own. At any moment, they can change the rules, hike up the rent, or just squeeze you out completely once they figure out your business model. To survive and thrive, you have got to own the layer where the actual thinking happens. So the crucial point we're driving at is data sovereignty. This means completely owning your local AI infrastructure and your proprietary data. When you achieve this, your prompts stay on your servers, full stop. Your customer data never leaves your virtual private cloud. This totally eliminates third-party exposure and builds a highly defensible business moat. Companies that leverage this strategy, utilizing the exact kind of sovereign infrastructure that AI Agent 1.0 builds, they aren't just protecting their secrets, they're actively transforming their proprietary data into an unassailable competitive advantage. I mean, nobody can copy a workflow they can't even see, right?
Let's bring this down to earth and look at the actual tools. Here is the local AI stack.
We're looking at the heavy hitters of the local AI stack right now. These are the practical, battle-tested open source tools that actually give you OpenAI-compatible APIs, but without that ridiculous per-token extortion. First up is Llama. It's incredibly popular right now, and it's best for devs who just want a super simple command line interface and easy API integration to get up and running fast. Next, we have Local AI. This is your go-to if you need a comprehensive drop-in replacement that handles multimodal tasks, so text, image, audio, the whole shebang. And finally, there's VLLM. If you are serving high-throughput production traffic, VLLM is absolutely the gold standard for efficiency. With this stack, you're essentially getting enterprise-grade AI horsepower running securely inside your own four walls.
Now, to really understand why VLLM is such a beast for production, we need to talk about its paged attention technology. This feature actively manages how memory is allocated during AI generation, and it reduces memory fragmentation by a massive 50% or more. Think of it kind of like a brilliant restaurant host efficiently seating people so no tables that empty, rather than stubbornly reserving whole sections for single diners. By managing memory this efficiently, it boosts throughput by 2 to 4 times for concurrent requests. What that means for you is that you can serve significantly more users at the exact same time on your own hardware without the whole system grinding to a halt.
Let's move on and see how all this builds into a highly practical, enterprise-grade setup, the hybrid LLM architecture. Because look, you don't have to abandon the cloud entirely, but you do need to be smart and intelligently partition your tasks. Step 1, you deploy an intelligent gateway, like Bifrost, to act as your single entry point. Step 2, route all those high-volume, lightweight tasks, stuff like user intent classification or scrubbing out personal info, straight to extremely fast, local 7 to 13 billion parameter models. Then, step 3, you only securely route to those expensive cloud APIs for the highly complex, heavy reasoning edge cases that genuinely require massive trillion parameter models. Boom. You get the absolute best of local security combined with selective cloud power. Okay, but you're probably wondering, when should you actually pull the trigger and make this switch? Well, the source material gives us a super concrete metric for this. The break-even point for migrating to a dedicated local deployment is right around 15 million to 40 million tokens per month. Now, to a human, that sounds like a crazy high number, right? But for an autonomous agent running continuous loops all day, that's just a regular Tuesday. If your continuous background AI loads are crossing that threshold, the math completely flips. Investing in your own local GPU or CPU clusters goes from being a luxury to being economically mandatory. It's time to stop paying rent and start building equity in your own infrastructure. Let's wrap things up with our final topic, the future market architect. Let's re-anchor our narrative around that core Spectre of insight philosophy. The future belongs to market architects. Mastering your local AI infrastructure doesn't just save you a few bucks, it elevates your entire strategic position. You are no longer just a mere consumer of cloud services, sitting around passively paying whatever invoice lands on your desk at the end of the month. No, you become a true market architect. You're designing the foundational systems that capture real value and dictate exactly how your specific market operates. You set the rules. You own the intelligence. The source material makes this point crystal clear, stating running locally is no longer a compromise, it's a competitive advantage. And they hit the nail right on the head. Just 3 years ago, running a local model was, let's be honest, kind of a hobbyist endeavor. But today, with the absolutely astonishing power of modern open-weights models, it is a definitive, unignorable business strategy. Embracing data sovereignty takes your infrastructure and transforms it from a passive cost center into an active, highly defensible weapon. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a really close look at your own business operations right now. As we move into this next economic era, are you going to keep renting your intelligence and quietly handing over your proprietary secrets to big tech? Or are you going to step up, achieve true data sovereignty, and own your infrastructure outright? The tools are already here. The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.